105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network present
Touchdown Cowboys!
Dallas Cowboys Football 2024 in crystal clear HD stereo. Today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
And just like that, we're 3 hours to kick off for the final time this season. Welcome to the official pregame show of your Dallas Cowboys, live here at AT&T Stadium. Week 18 with the Commanders in town. Broaddus, I'm calling this the must-lose game of the season for your Dallas Cowboys. We're going for draft picks right now, and we're looking ahead to 2025. And plenty of conversation to be had about what's going to go down today, who's going to be the starting quarterback, the futures of so many different guys, the entire coaching staff, and, of course, the Commanders have something to play for here. Dan Quinn says, we're going for that 6th seed. All they got to do is win this game. They don't need anything else to happen.
Absolutely.
Just win this game, Commanders, and you're the 6th seed in the NFC playoffs, and you are avoiding filthy in round 1, wild card next weekend. So lots to play for the Commanders, and we'll see how the Cowboys go about it. Great to have you in, 877-881-1053. Bryan Broaddus, final game of the year, man. How you feeling?
I like how you led with this, but let me play the other side of that. Let me be the former personnel guy that needs to win this football game.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Be that guy.
We're gonna balance this thing out today. We're going to try and find a way to win it and, finish strong that way. You've got coaches that are, Jerry Jones talks about with us on 105.3 The Fan, hay in the barn. We don't know, trying to kind of get a read. Is things done? Are they going to move on? Are they going to bring him back? There's all kinds of speculation about the head coach and this coaching staff. But, as a guy who worked in the front office, worked with teams for several years, you want to go out on a good note. You want to try and make sure that, hey, keep everybody upright. Keep everybody healthy. You don't want any bad injuries or anything. You don't want injuries at all, but you don't want to have to lose any players, that you might need for next season. So that's important about the health of your team. It's important about trying to kind of finish with a good taste in your mouth. I totally understand what you and a lot of fans want. The draft is going to be very important for this football team, especially with the way that they like to try and draft and develop. Yeah, there is a difference in this draft. The draft I've studied so far, 15 first-round grades on my board. I think a lot of NFL teams are probably going to be thinking about the same thing with the numbers. So you drop below 15, you might be looking at a second-round player on your board.
And that's funny because what's in store for the Cowboys with a win today, they could drop all the way down to 16.
Yeah.
They could, best case scenario, they could be picking 11th.
Right.
Worst case, they could be picking 16th in a draft.
Five spot difference is big. To sit there for 5 players you can lose out on guys that way
in every round.
At every round, you're right about that. And I see why fans, guys like yourself, you're thinking about team building and all, but the personnel guys and the coaches and the front office guys and all that, they're thinking about winning a football game today against the Commanders.
No doubt about it.
They're thinking about you want to go out there and put your best foot forward, but how far are you willing to do that? We're going to probably get into some speculation about Trey Lance starting this game, for the Dallas Cowboys. So keep an eye on that as we go forward.
Okay, very good. Yeah, the Trey Lance question, the closer we've gotten to kickoff, the more we've heard, you're definitely going to be seeing some Trey Lance all the way to the point where it sounds like he might be starting this football game.
Yeah, we'll see how that all plays out. There was some, our own Sean Sharif in the morning show was talking about, he tweeted out that, hey, Trey Lance fans are going to be happy, and then all of a sudden you kind of started digging in. And then the Tom Pelisseros and the Ian Rappaports and guys like that were starting to talk about Trey Lance as well. So, I feel like, though, in visiting with some people, we could very well see Trey Lance be the starter today. We'll see. I'm not going to confirm it right now, but I have a feeling when we get close to the kickoff, Christy Scales, she'll be down on the field probably talking about some things, and we'll see. But I would venture to say you're going to see Trey Lance a good bit today.
Well, one way the Cowboys are wanting to win this football game is the fact that a guy like Micah Parsons is playing, and I'm sure he has his own reasons. He wants to reach that double-digit number of sacks. Like he has each year of his career, and he's just a half sack away. So he will be chasing around Jaden Daniels. Of course, you had the Cowboys in Washington earlier in the season with one of their best wins of the year. But, man, this looks like a different Jaden Daniels. He's been outstanding all year, but he has really cranked it up, and his rushing numbers are through the roof. And we know how well he can throw as well. But when we played him earlier in the year, I think he had 7 carries in the game, and he was successful on those.
He was successful.
But when you look at the Falcons game, you're talking about 16 carries. This dude is now in postseason mode, and he's feeling healthier after the rib injury that he had earlier in the year, and that was still at the time when the Cowboys played him. So they kind of scaled it back a little bit. But, man, Jaden Daniels has been absolutely on fire these last few weeks.
Yeah, he really has. And my experience with Jaden Daniels, myself being an LSU alum, watching him play, there was really never a doubt to me that he was going to have success. And his ability to escape in the pocket, buy himself some time, he's one of those guys that is a very slippery player. And if you don't keep him in the pocket, if you don't, just make sure you squeeze him, and when he gets to the outside or he sees a gap, he's going to take it. And he has that ability to run for like 12 yards, and you would never think he was running that fast. It's just he's such a smooth player. But, yeah, the Commanders, I think they're going to live and die with him in this playoffs this year. I mean, it's going to be his ability to not only make throws, which he likes to make from the pocket, but his ability to use his legs, and we'll probably see that a little bit today.
No question about it. All right, what about, one of the things that we're hoping to see in a game like this is some of the younger guys. We've got a ton of that this year.
The whole year's been young guy football.
Except for your first-round pick.
Yeah.
Tyler Guyton.
And that's when the Cowboys have been talking about we're playing for something, we've signed up for 17 weeks, we're playing for something. And then it was Chuma Edoga. It was Chuma Edoga really the whole time. And, the coaching staff is like, listen, we can't afford holding penalties. We can't afford lining up deep in the backfield. We got to have more consistent play. You've gotten that from Chuma Edoga. Guyton, yes. Does he need to play? Absolutely. Eric, if you ask me, and I think you and I had this discussion on Friday on 105.3 The Fan, was like, what do you want to see? Who needs to have the good game going into 2025?
Yes.
Give me Guyton and let Guyton find a way to win against Fowler and Armstrong and those guys. Did a great job the last time that they played this team. They kept those guys off the stat sheet. So today I kind of feel like give me Guyton, give me a positive game, and let me feel better about going into 2025, or let him feel better about going into 2025, saying, listen, you need to become more of a mature player. You need to work harder on your assignments. You need to be ready to play every week, and you need to be a pro. These are all things you need to do. You want to be just mediocre or just a good guy, just keep doing what you're doing. You want to be a great player, this is what you have to do.
It's the official pregame show live at AT&T Stadium, brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company, and the Cowboys are looking to avoid a 7th home loss, which would tie for the second most at home in team history with the 2015 version of the Dallas Cowboys.
That was bad, yeah.
Definitely looking to avoid that for sure. And the Cowboys have an NFL worst -16 point margin at home this season after, of course, last year having the best home point margin in the league. So, and with a 9-point loss today, they would tie the worst home point margin in a season in franchise history. And that was the -125 in 1960. So some historical things on the line here a little bit. Now, if we do see some Trey Lance today, is this just going to be loaded up and run the youngster because we know that's his bread and butter, or are they going to want to see him, hey, let's see if you can drop back, play in the pocket. Let's see if you can be an actual quarterback here, Trey.
I think if it's Trey Lance, and there's a good possibility that it's going to be Trey Lance, I think what you do here with him is you play your normal offense, but maybe a couple of wrinkles here and there. We've seen the wrinkles of Turpin being in the backfield. What if the Turpin action and stuff like that? that you do some more RPO stuff. That all of a sudden now make the Commanders have to prepare for you, handing the ball off inside, because that's where Dallas is able to run the football. All of a sudden those edges become a little soft, and now you got Trey Lance pulling that ball and getting to the edge and getting to the outside and making some plays. I'm going to play like a college offense today. I'm going to RPO you. I'm going to throw some screens. I'm going to try and just kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm going to give you some Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle had a nice game against these guys last time. Dallas's offense against the Commanders was really good. I mean, if you go back and look at the metrics of everything all the games the Commanders have played this year, Dallas's output in that game in week 12 or week 11, it was all the output was like, this is the Commanders gave up. This is the most they've given up. This is the most they've given up. This, percentages, yards per play, all those things the Commanders kind of pride themselves on to be able to handle. The Cowboys were excellent in that game. They attacked their linebackers with the pass. CeeDee Lamb was really, really good in this game. Brandon Cooks with a couple of key third down catches. Ferguson, single high, get him going. Yeah, I think you're going to play some offense today and see if the Commanders can, how well Dan Quinn can get pressure. If he can get pressure, he likes to rush 4. We'll see if Trey Lance, like I say, I think he can handle these things, and Dallas will try and do some things to make sure that he can.
Certainly not the same type of defense you faced last week in Filthy, with the Eagles defense being one of the best in the sport. Now you get the Commanders. They got some good players for sure, but you mentioned, like any Dan Quinn defense, you can run on them a little bit.
Yeah.
Who in the passing game do you think last week for the Cowboys? Did anybody? I mean, I'll tell you what, seeing Mingo just even getting open, he had a nice 12-yard grab. That's a guy that you'd like to see maybe as you talk about heading into the offseason, leaving a good taste in your mouth.
Yeah, let's see. Trey Lance throws the ball, has got more arm strength than what Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush tends to throw the ball. It floats a little bit more. There's some accuracy there. But, Trey Lance, there's going to be some opportunities. Mingo with working against Sansa still, the corner from the Commanders. They've had to deal with they've struggled a little bit on the outside because Lattimore hasn't been healthy. We'll see. He's probably going to be out this week. They've tried to kind of, rotate some of their corners. Benjamin St. Juste is a guy that the Cowboys have attacked in the past when he's played. There's some guys in the secondary that you can clearly go after, and Dallas did a good job with the protections. Last time these two teams met, the Commanders didn't give up. The Dallas Cowboys gave up 6 pressures in their drop back passes in this last time that they met. Atlanta did the same thing last week. Atlanta did a great job of protecting their quarterback. So if you have, say, 25 drop back attempts and you're only getting up 6 pressures, you're having a pretty good day throwing the football, likely.
How does Zimmer approach it defensively today, trying to slow down Daniels? It looks like Brian Robinson, their running back, has been kind of
Brian Robinson, when these two teams met, was probably a 4.8 yards a carry guy, close to 5. He's down to 4.3, and so they've had some struggles. They've had some injury problems along their offensive line. Biotish, Wiley. They've had guys get banged up. They've got a rookie left tackle in Coleman. Cornelius Lucas has played a little bit for Wiley at tackle. He's out. That Trent Scott came in. He's not very good. I mean, it's kind of like the Cowboys early in the year. They're not playing very well as a unit, and the backups haven't stepped up. Dallas's backups have played much better. The Commanders are still searching for that right now.
Now, in the passing game, of course, it's McLaurin. I'll tell you, Zacchaeus has been a really nice player for them. They got some dudes, but it obviously all starts and stops with Jaden Daniels. Do you feel like since the last time you scouted these guys going into the first matchup and then to this one, doesn't it feel like Jaden Daniels has leveled up a little bit?
He has leveled up a little bit. Terry McLaurin is going to be the downfield threat, and this is where you travel bland in this game. Now, who plays opposite? Is it going to be Booth again?
That's a struggle bus.
We always, we always offer our 2 cents, and they really don't care our 2 cents. My 2 cents would be play Izzy on the outside, play Lewis on the inside, and then have Bland travel and go for there and play that way. McLaurin, You mentioned Zacharias. Brown has been really, really good for them. Zach Ertz. I mean, usually you think, usually skill guys that go to Washington go to die. Zach Ertz has kind of found his career again. He's going to be a factor in this football game. So, deal with Terry McLaurin down the field. Be ready for Zach Ertz, for him underneath and a lot of the throws that Daniels can make there.
Yeah, and I think Zach Ertz, the tight end, he's got a $250,000 bonus to reach today. It's going to be tough for him, though. He needs 9 catches for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we'll see if the rookie Jaden Daniels is trying to force feed his guy there so we can get him a little bonus action.
They're gonna try, if Booth is your starter at corner, it's clear. The tape shows that. You take your best player and you try and put him on Booth and attack, and maybe they can even attack with Brown and others there. That's something Dallas has. It's been a huge struggle for them this year. 7 different cornerback combinations. It's been a big problem.
No question about it. All right, we're just getting started here on the pregame show live from AT&T Stadium. Under 2 hours and 45 minutes to a Week 18 kickoff. We'll close this season down. Let's get you the player profile. 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold with Tyler Smith, and we'll take a look around the NFL next right here on The Fan.
Welcome to the world of WinStar.
572-945-9975 or visit kpostcompany.com.
All right, here we go. Just over 2.5 hours to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Welcome into the pregame show. We'll hear from Tyler Smith here in just a moment. Mark Sanchez on the call for Fox today with Adam Amin and Christina Pink. He will be joining us live here in just a few minutes. We got Babe Laufenberg and the voice of the Commanders, the get-right game man himself, Mr. Bram Weinstein, coming up. And then, of course, we'll get the scoop from Christy Scales. Great to have you in. And, of course, Tyler Smith was one of 5 members of this Cowboys team to get the Pro Bowl nod. What do you think about the season Tyler Smith has had this year, Broaddus?
You know what? I feel like, though, that there was some questions about the offensive line as a whole, but he was the one consistent thing that you had. Much like Jordan Lewis on the defense, even with the losses, you were to watch the tape and see that Tyler Smith was playing at a very, very high level. And we all understand the power, the strength. He's super aware of what's going on around him. He did a nice job of getting Cooper Beebe through this first season playing at center. You know, there's been a rotating system for him at left tackle. I think he's handled everything very, very well. You know, to his left and to his right, there's been a lot of things that he's had to deal with, but that hasn't really affected his game. He's been consistent throughout, and so very deserving of a Pro Bowl honor. It's nice to see the recognition that he gets, you know, from those around the league, because he is one of the solid players that you had on this offensive line. When things weren't great, he was playing well. When things started to be better, he still maintained that, and you needed that.
Well, here he is standing by with the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold for today's player profile.
Tyler Smith, first of all, congratulations on another Pro Bowl season. Were you surprised you made it?
Definitely, I cannot say surprised at all. You know, I work very hard for sure. I do think it's a huge blessing, to be called, for my name to be called for that. And, I just give all the glory to God, because I wouldn't be here without him. I couldn't do anything that I do or, play the way I play without him. So, the glory goes to him first and foremost. And thank you to my teammates. My teammates were a huge part of this, helping me develop into, who I am and who I need to be. I'm continuing to ascend, continuing to get better. And, yeah.
You've been saying for a couple of days now that you like your guys, that you want to build with these guys. Can you talk about how you guys are going into this game against Washington, but the fact that you think you got something to build off of?
Yeah, the biggest thing for this week is, beat Washington. Be who we are. We've been playing good ball over these last couple games. We just got to stay with that. We got to stay with that mindset of, winning, even though they're, we may not be going to playoffs, guys are still fighting for a job. And so make sure you're being accountable to your brother, make sure you're doing things the right way. Because at the end of the day, it's a blessed opportunity. Not everybody gets to come out and do this. Not everybody gets to come out and play NFL ball. So, being able to be blessed with this opportunity to go out there and win and dominate, and show people, what we're about, even when the chips are not necessarily all the way up and, things aren't where we want them to be. I think this is a huge opportunity for us to show who we are.
Offensive line had some injuries. You had guys having to fill in different gaps, some guys learning. Can you talk about what it's been for the offensive line this year? Because, again, it seemed like towards the end of the season, everything started clicking, even through the injuries, like Zach Martin's out.
Yeah, there was, I think, a lot of adversity early on with injuries and health-wise. I went through my things. I went through stuff. We had guys up and down every week. But guys stayed locked into it. I think that's the biggest thing I'm proud of is just, the dedication that guys had towards coming in, when their name is called, being ready to play, being ready to dominate, not just, go out there and do whatever, but truly, embolden and hold that standard. And so, it's just, I take my hat off to the guys, but that's just the mindset. That's the mindset that we've cultured, through training camp, through OTAs and all those things, the work we put in. So they're definitely, I think we showed up the right way. And I think, as the year went on, things started to click a little better for sure.
Yeah, I think everybody got to see that this team is full of dogs, guys that came to play. They're taking care of business. So it's the last game of the season. Some guys got to clean out some lockers. Some of the coaches may or may not be back. Yeah. Is there any kind of this is the last game for us and we want to make a statement, or it's just like we just do what we've been doing?
This is the last game we get to play with our brothers, and so I think the biggest thing is just for us to finish and do things the right way to win. At the end of the day, you know, if you strip everything down to where there's nothing left, at the end of the day, the only thing that's important is winning. Like, we have to win this game. Like, we want to win this game. Like B. Cooks was talking about it earlier today. You know, respect this game. You know, finish things out the right way. You know, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of where we at, this is a blessed opportunity. Like, make sure you not only do your 111, you know, for the name on the back of your jersey, the name on the front, but make sure you honor your brother next to you, because your brother is fighting with everything he has. You know, you should do the same.
As usual, good luck this afternoon. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thank you.
I love it. There it is. Tyler Smith with a 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold for today's player profile. How do you not love that guy, man? Tyler Smith, just what a cornerstone piece on the offensive line, totally living up to expectations, and then in the locker room being the voice of of the team here from a leadership standpoint. He, of course, a Pro Bowler. CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, kicker Brandon Aubrey, and then for punt returns and kick returns, you got Kavontae Turpin. Those are your Pro Bowlers, and those all make sense for sure.
Yeah, I feel bad for Jordan Lewis, but, you know, I got to be honest with you. Don't sit there and watch every single NFL game. Don't know who's playing all the nickel positions. But I know one thing. We talked about Tyler Smith's consistency throughout the year, good and bad, how the team was playing. Jordan Lewis was really the same way. If you look at the Cowboys very early in the season, we're giving up a ton of yards. We're having problems stopping people. But Jordan Lewis was the one guy that was kind of holding things together. When you look at the nickel position, the metrics were telling you that Dallas was one of the better teams when it came to playing out of the slot. And a lot of it has to do with Jordan Lewis and how he plays. So I feel bad for him. Like I said, haven't watched all the nickels play in the National Football League, but man, I don't know how he could not have been a guy that had been considered by his peers as one of the best.
Yeah, I mean, what a stud. Dog mentality on the defense. He's a true pro.
Plays banged up, yeah.
I mean, he's wearing an arm
foot,
brace.
his elbow. I mean, there's a lot of things that he deals with on a weekly basis, and he lines up and plays. He plays without excuse. He goes out there. He's very thoughtful, much like with Tyler Smith, very thoughtful in the locker room, when after a game, they're going to stand there, they're going to answer the questions, good or bad. And that's the kind of pros you need on your team.
Maybe the best season of his career, Jordan Lewis? Is that
and
crazy?
Jordan Lewis, yeah, and it's funny, Todd Arch and I were talking about Jordan Lewis a little bit before I came on. I was down in the media and the press box area. And
getting your pregame breakfast lollipop.
Yeah, I was getting. Yeah, there was nothing. I had to have a Tootsie Pop for the pregame. Cherry Tootsie Pop's hard to beat at 8:15 in the morning. But the thing that Todd and I were talking about was in what he has meant to this team, and the things that he's been able to do, and the positivity, and what does his future hold. We'll see how. Could the Cowboys bring him back? Todd seems to think that maybe, hey, not so fast to him leaving, but, we'll see how that plays.
All right, we got Mark Sanchez coming up here in a few minutes. Congratulations to Cowboys defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer on his engagement to Katrina Mikatin, I believe is how you say it. Not 100% sure, but I saw the photos surfacing around the internet yesterday. So tip of the cap, Mike Zimmer, and hopefully he's back next year. If they're going to bring the whole band back together, if the plan is to bring McCarthy back, I think you want as much continuity as possible. The defense start trending in the right direction as the season went on, but that's going to be a Mike Zimmer choice, man, and he got emotional at the podium this week. I think it's very much so a coin flip situation whether or not he wants to come back.
I think there's a lot of people that are talking about, hey, run it back, with McCarthy and then with Mike Zimmer, but Mike's going to make his own decision. Here he is now. It's going to be another new chapter in his life. Mike has dealt with a lot of tragedy in his life when it comes to his family, so he's going to, nice to see him find somebody that, that he can continue to grow with. And Mike has a lot of interests, horse racing being one of them, and he's looking at that full time, and trying to get his horse into the Kentucky Derby as an owner. That would be a huge accomplishment. I think the emotion of the things that happened this year, he did it to him. He did it for himself, for his son who passed away. He helped Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones. More importantly, helped Mike McCarthy. I know. I went on record and was saying that I think bringing Mike Zimmer in here might save Mike McCarthy's job. And this is when this offense, the defense hasn't been the problem this year. No, I'll say this. some of the early season games, yes, very bad, but they've picked up things. This offense, you look at the metrics on this offense, it is from last year to this year is gone down in every single category that they've played in. And so, red zone trips, huge number last year. This year, not so many. So there's a lot of things this offense. Mike Zimmer, like I said, I think he saved Mike McCarthy's job by the way that they played on defense.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a case to be made that he has. I mean, McCarthy's offense has certainly not done enough if you're just looking at it from the offensive standpoint, as you mentioned. I mean, they're 25th or lower in rushing yards, giveaways, third downs, red zone, explosive plays, time of possession, all of it, man.
Everything that they were very good at last year, they've been very poor at this year. And this is, this is not just Dak Prescott being gone the whole year. They were not very good with Dak Prescott playing quarterback this year. They weren't good running the football. The quarterback wasn't particularly good. The wide receivers behind CeeDee Lamb weren't doing very well. Ferguson was having his problems. I mean, it was such a big hole to dig out of, and they really haven't totally dug out. I mean, they figured out how to run the football. Offensive line has gotten better in that regard, but still the development or the lack of the receivers behind CeeDee Lamb has been a big, big question.
It really has. Okay, now Zach Ertz, tight end for the Commanders, he has a handful of different opportunities to cash in on some different bonuses. So it's actually $250K for each of these that he reaches. If he gets 9 or more grabs in today's game, boom, $250. Even if it's 9 catches for 0 yards, there's $250K for Zach Ertz. I would expect the rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels to really try and feed him a little bit. If he gets 90 yards or more, he's going to get another $250K. If he gets 2 touchdowns, he'll get another $250K. So he's got a litany of different opportunities to cash in today. Elsewhere around the NFL, you had some football games yesterday, and I'm feeling for the Ravens right now, dude, as their wide receiver, Zay Flowers, Pro Bowler, first Pro Bowl wide receiver in Baltimore Ravens history, which is crazy to consider. On the heels of that, great week to be Zay Flowers and the Ravens. You make history with your organization, and then you go out there yesterday and you suffer a knee sprain, considered week to week. He will be undergoing more testing, but right here with the playoffs lurking right around the corner, that is a huge, huge bummer. And the last thing you want to see if you're a Ravens fan right now. You also
let's be honest too. It's really synonymous with Raven playoffs and going in with injury. How many times have we seen Lamar Jackson go into the playoffs with questionable injury history stuff going on?
Almost every year.
Every year.
Except
so I'm saying,
for this year.
Yeah,
But now
it's something else. But the Ravens and playoff injury or going into it are always seem something together.
And then on the other side of the coin there, from a wide receiver standpoint, in that same division, your LSU Tiger, Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Now the first player ever with 1,700 or more receiving yards and 17 touchdowns in a single season. And that price tag just keeps going up for the owner, Mike Brown, who is as cheap as it comes in the sport.
No,
man.
and you're absolutely right. And, when you start to talk about the great wide receivers in the National Football League, Jamar Chase is one of the names you have to mention. Unfortunately for the Bengals, if somehow Denver finds a way to win this game. I mean, Kansas City, I don't think anybody wants to see Cincinnati playing in the playoffs. I not with Chase and Burrow the way that they're playing right now.
Your offense is going to have to come to play.
You're going to have to come play.
You're going to have to go score for score.
You're going to have to go score for score right there. And so, Kansas City's probably looking at this like, okay, if we lose this game, and Kansas City has a lot of pride, but Denver wins, they're in. If Kansas City wins, Cincinnati's in. I don't think anybody really wants to see Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been playing great. I mean, they had a chance to lose a game out here at AT&T Stadium. They didn't. They've been on a roll ever since.
Yeah, I mean, their offense has been one of the best in the sport for majority of the season. Yeah. Joe Burrow, despite being on a team that might not even make the playoffs, in the MVP conversation. Of course, Jamar Chase in the Offensive Player of the Year conversation. But their defense will ultimately hold them back. Yeah. Most certainly here, but we'll see if they
maybe their kicking game too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good point. Yeah. Evan McPherson this year was part of the reason why they were losing so many close games. Yeah. And they'll be pulling for the Chiefs, who are playing Carson Wentz and all their backups for the most part versus the Broncos today, because they're going to need a Broncos loss to get into the postseason are the Bengals. Now, how about this? We have, obviously, the game of the weekend is going to be Sunday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
Lions hosting the Vikings, all the marbles for the 1 seed in the NFC. The Vikings spent $2 million to buy around 2,000 tickets behind their bench for tonight's game in Detroit. And then those tickets were then offered to Vikings season ticket holders at what they're calling a steep discount. So how about a heady play there from the Vikings? And the Lions contacted the league office, but the NFL said no rules were broken.
Yeah.
So they're trying to create as much of a home field environment for their guys right behind their bench tonight for what is probably going to be just an awesome, awesome game, awesome atmosphere. Both two lost teams. I mean, it's crazy. 2 14-2 teams in the same division. That's phenomenal.
I just can't believe that Lions fans, with so much on the line, would have given up their tickets, but that just shows you maybe it's like,
well, I guess these were like up for grabs. Like these were.
Oh, I know, but I mean, there's probably people that gave up their tickets. These are all secondary market tickets. So I can't believe that Lion fans sit in those seats. So I can't believe
Not
that
tonight.
not tonight. you're literally, you're thinking like, I if it was me, trust me, we had season tickets for 20 years for Cowboy games. I always reminded my dad, we pay we get the playoff tickets, we got them. I went in, I got them. I can't imagine a Lions fan who sits in that seat normally giving up his ticket, and then a Viking fan sitting in there.
Unbelievable.
What a nightmare.
Yeah, looking forward to that game tonight for sure. All right, we are now 2 hours and 20 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff here at AT&T Stadium. Mark Sanchez on the call for Fox today. We'll chat with him next right here on The Fan.
Bell Nunley has been committed to serving their clients for over 4.
krld-fm to learn more.
SWBC Mortgage Corporation, NMLS number 9741, an equal housing lender.
End zone, touchdown USC. Beautiful read, and Ronald Johnson, the sophomore from Michigan. Sanchez is now carving up the Nittany Lions secondary.
We just talked about how they're going right between the corner and the safety, and that's exactly where Mark Sanchez went again. It's an area that I think they came into this football game pretty confident and felt they could have some success. They're splitting the seams, the perimeter of this Penn State defense.
How about that? 2009 Rose Bowl MVP, 5 total touchdowns. It's Mark Sanchez, one of our favorites here on the Cowboys pregame show. First time all season we get to welcome Mark into the program. Mark, thanks so much for the time, man. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. First time, long time.
Yeah, man, absolutely. How about how do you feel hearing an old clip like that going off in the Rose Bowl? We're at the height of college football right now at the Final Four. I'm sure you've been soaking it all in.
Oh, buddy, what an intro. I heard Musburger, I heard Herb Street. That fired me up, man. That was a heck of a game, and happy to be a part of it, and it was a fun one.
I appreciate it, man. Well, what about these Final Four teams right now? Do you have, with the way Ohio State's playing, it's ridiculous. They come here later this week to take on the Longhorns. You got the Buckeyes winning it all right now?
Listen, I have a hard time betting against Chip Kelly. And I know some people, that's a polarizing guy. Some people in Philly especially, might have their opinions about him. But this guy's a heck of a recruiter. He's a motivator and one heck of a play caller. So I remember being on this field here in Dallas on Thanksgiving and running that Chip Kelly offense, man, and we were on fire. Nothing didn't work that day. Everything was rocking. So it's hard to bet against Chip, and I hope he does well.
Well, as we get set for today's game, season finale here at AT&T Stadium, what's at the top of your storyline list here as we're trying to figure out, is Trey Lance starting this game? Jaden Daniels has been on fire, and the Commanders have something to play for.
Gosh, so many good storylines, and the Commanders, it sounds like, from everything and everybody I've talked to, they're going for it. And they want that 6th seed. They want to, prove that they're the team they set out to be at the beginning of the year. And that was a real interesting point from Dan Quinn in our meeting. He just said, hey, listen, if I tell these guys, pull back, then everything I've told them all year isn't fair. Everything I've told them all year, I'm a fraud. I got to go for it, just like the way I told these guys to go for it. So I appreciate that sentiment. And then when you look at the Cowboys, Cooper Rush, he's primed for a big payday. Yeah. But this could actually be a big day for Trey Lance. If it sounds like he's going to get the start, but we'll see here in a couple hours. And if he does, listen, remember Matt Flynn? Played that great game for Green Bay and went and signed a big deal in Seattle. I wouldn't be shocked now if Trey comes out and lights it up, if he gets an opportunity. And Cooper's already – the fact that Cooper's playing on the contract that he is wild, because he literally missed like the huge window of backup quarterbacks that are getting big money. So if he plays it all today and what he's done through the season and his career, he's going to be just fine.
Hey, Mark, I wanted to ask you, there's so many questions, about Mike McCarthy and his job status and things like that. How does that affect players, and, with the final game and the uncertainty there? Is it something that you could block out, or is it something that you're in your heart, hey, I got to go out and try and do my very best for this coach, potentially for the very last time?
Oh, 100%. And it's, listen, it's a tough place to be for the coach, for the players, for the organization. This is not what they set out to become this year. And unfortunately, injuries and circumstances have put them here. So now you got to realize there's so much pride on the line for these players. There's no such thing as tanking. There's no such thing as, hey man, I'm going to ease off this game. Like, that doesn't exist as a player. You don't think like that. If you do, you shouldn't be here. And it's easy to figure out who cares about it and who doesn't in games like this. And it's important to remember, I think, that when you put this tape on somebody's film, nobody cares about your circumstances. Nobody cares that, hey, this was our record and, my thumb hurt a little bit and, that game didn't matter and all. Nobody cares. People are going to watch that film and you're either playing in this league or you're not. So you figure out real quick what's on the line, what you care about, and what guys care about this team and this coach. But he's been endorsed publicly by some important players on their team. So, that's got to feel good for him. And most importantly, listen, these last 7 games, like if he can go 5-2 in 7 games with 2 different backup quarterbacks potentially, I mean, there's something to say about that. And whether he's here as the Cowboys head coach or somewhere else, that's an important stat.
Mark Sanchez with us here on The Fan. Looking at the Commanders and their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. I mean, my goodness, he's having an unbelievable season. It seems like he's getting better and better as the season goes on. What impresses you most? What stands out to you about this rookie and how well he's been playing?
Buddy, what's wild is his demeanor. I mean, this guy is steady as they come and doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, just finds a way, just figures out a way to complete a pass, whether it's downfield, underneath, convert, whatever it takes with his legs. My only concern for this guy is he's taking a lot of hits. And he's not the biggest guy around. He's long and lean. He's fast as all get out now. And this guy can really move. But he's taken some serious hits, especially in that last game against Atlanta. That's my only fear down the road for him, is you got to get down, you got to get out of bounds, and your best ability is your availability. So they can't afford to lose this guy.
Mark, one of the best things that happened to Dak Prescott in 2016 was you to stand there with him the whole entire time.
I don't know.
No, and I'm serious. Like, from watching it, I was with DallasCowboys.com, and just what you were able to do, and I think the development of what we've seen from Dak Prescott to this day is literally what you were able to do to help him along the way. These injuries now are starting to become a little difficult for him. How do you think he manages this thing going into 2025 with the things that are going on?
Of course. I mean, the ankle, he comes back. The hamstring, he's got to come back. And if anybody can do it, it's number 4 for the Cowboys, man. This guy's got everything you want on the field, off the field. He's involved in the community. He loves this game and wants to be the best out there. And that's really why I gravitated towards this place. That's the conversation we had before the season. It was, hey, dude, I know a lot about this league. I've seen a lot of football. I'm going to tell you exactly how I see it, and it's uncut, it's raw, and I'm going to be honest with you. At any point, if that's either embarrassing or uncomfortable or you don't like it, you just let me know. I'll turn the faucet off, man. I won't say a word. And he was so eager. He said, buddy, give me everything you got. I want to hear it all. And that's why I believe in him. I'll never bet against the guy. He's such a stud and really cares about it. And now it's about, figuring out in this time of his career, this is really like the prime, right? If he can come back from this injury, he's going to be just about as smart as he can be while keeping the athleticism that he still has. And that, to me, is your prime. You know enough, you can still move around. This is it. These next couple years are going to be big for him, and if anybody can do it and come back, it's going to be him.
Mark Sanchez with us here on The Fan. All right, Mark, who's your if you got a vote, who would be your MVP this year?
Oh man, put me on the spot here. Listen, it reminds me a lot of, remember Zeke was like 3rd in MVP voting his rookie year in 16, but didn't win offensive rookie player of the year or whatever. So this kid Daniels now, he's making a case not just for rookie of the year, but actual MVP. And then you see Joe Burrow. I mean, holy smokes. This guy throws the ball every down. I'm shocked that offensive line doesn't have a mutiny out there in Cincinnati, man. At some point, they want to just fire off and block somebody in a run game. These guys throw the ball 60 times a game. It's unbelievable. So if you're talking about the value to his team, shoot, Burrow's up there. But now you say, okay, Lamar, well, he's won 2 MVPs, and his stats this year are better. So is that not just a shoo-in? And then Josh Allen, like, what do you do about that?
I know, dude. It's
Coach,
tough.
I got no chance on this one. Every way you look, there's some amazing players, and this is going to be a tight race.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mark, I didn't like your answers because it's all quarterbacks. See, Eric and I get in this discussion all the time because
Hey,
I'm a
Saquon's right there,
Saquon
man.
Barkley. There we go. Like
He's
Eric
right
thinks
there, Coach.
Eric thinks he's really cute by asking the very top of the NFL, the quarterbacks and the media guys and stuff, and he always thinks he's going to get an answer like all quarterbacks.
And I finally did.
And Mark Sanchez came
Thank
on
you,
and
Mark.
just killed my day.
Crushed you. I'm sorry, buddy.
No problem, man.
Mark, you're the man. We appreciate the time, man. It's always a treat catching up with you, and enjoy the game today. We'll be watching.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Mark Sanchez for Fox Today with Adam Amin and Christina Pink. All right, friendly reminder that the creators of Buffalo Casino Games bring you NFL Casino Games. Kick off with America's team on and off the reels with Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have a gambling problem? Please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. I knew Mark was going to be on my side with that one, Broaddus. I knew it.
Yeah, eventually, you're going to ask
That's a guy with
everybody
football
involved. Yeah. You were thinking, that's a football guy,
That's
right?
a football guy right there. I do think, though, I mean, with
he's not wrong.
Adding Barkley into the mix,
No, he's not wrong.
And he's right about Jaden Daniels
Oh,
too.
no,
we're
he's
just
right.
gonna give him the Rookie of the Year award,
Yeah.
but there's no question that he should be in the mix for the MVP conversation as well. As interesting of an MVP race that I can remember.
In a while.
With four or five dudes that you could realistically say you are worthy.
Voting is going to be interesting once we see the final tallies. I hope somebody puts it out who got all the votes.
Who voted where?
Who voted where?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
All right, here we are live at AT&T Stadium, just over 2 hours to kick off here with the Commanders in town. It's Week 18, and let's go ahead and catch up with our quarterback here, Babe Laufenberg, next right here on The Fan.
The big game is coming, and we're all wondering, have you gotten your Tyson Cowboys nuggets yet? Head on down to your local grocery.
Jack Link's Feed Your Wild Side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Tyson Foods. Get your Tyson Cowboys Star Nuggets. Available now. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
All right, we're under 2 hours to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Cowboys and Commanders. Let's welcome in our buddy Babe Laufenberg live here in the Brad Sham Radio booth. Happy game day, Babe. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. Doing great. Woke up this morning feeling good, ready for a game. You know, we all probably watched that Monday night game between Detroit, who had nothing to play for, and San Francisco, who had nothing to play for, and it was a very entertaining game. And I'm hoping for the same today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are. The Commanders certainly have something to play for, fighting for that 6th seed in the NFC wild card playoff there, trying to avoid having to go to Filthy for wild card round of the playoffs. So they're playing all their guys, and they're rocking and rolling. From a Cowboys standpoint, certainly doing all the talk like they want to win this game. Micah Parsons being a guy who's playing in this game shows you like, okay, we're not just going to be sitting our super beasts here, and we're all trying to figure out if Trey Lance is going to be starting this football game. If he does, if we get the Trey Lance game today here, Babe, what would you like to see McCarthy do to help him out a little bit?
Well, it will be Trey Lance starting, and what I see are a lot of boots, getting him out of the pocket. The interesting thing is, and this is going to sound a little cruel, Trey Lance has done nothing to earn a start today. Played poorly in the preseason, played poorly for San Francisco when they had him, but he was the 3rd pick in the draft, and people cannot get that out of their head. But I'm all for starting him. Trust me, I love Cooper Rush. Playing Cooper Rush today, short of trying to win the game. I mean, if you really wanted to win the game, you would play Cooper Rush. You would not play Trey Lance. It's going to be a struggle for him. And I always say, too, when you play that backup quarterback, and I've been there, the farther you get away from training camp and the preseason, the harder it is for that player, because you're so far removed from, again, really getting reps. And you can talk all you want about scout team, really does nothing for you. You're not running your offense. You're just throwing the ball in the park. I've been there. So you get to week 18, game 17, and you haven't played in a long time. And all these other guys on the field have. So that becomes difficult. But I wish him good luck. Trey Lance is a great young man, earnest. I know he's hardworking. Everybody you talk to talks about his work ethic. So I'm hoping for good things for him today. But if the past is any indication of the future, it's going to be a difficult day for him.
Babe, do you think by starting Trey Lance, the decision has already been made about Mike McCarthy's future?
That I don't know. And, you know, here, as we know, I don't know if it's Mike McCarthy's decision.
Sure, that's what I was saying, yeah.
So I don't know, which is a shame, right? I mean, you should have that. You should have that organizational foundation that, yeah, this guy, whoever this guy is, he's making the decision. But so I do not know, who made the decision, but that's what we're going to get today.
It's Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. The Zeke stuff that took place this week, apparently him and his agent requesting to be released. The Cowboys grant that. How surprised were you by all of that, and do you expect a playoff team to pick him up?
I don't. Do you guys see a playoff team picking him up?
No, sir. Not at all. 0%.
Nobody watched tape of the last 2 years. Hey, Zeke had a great career. The shame is I would have loved for him today. Everybody knew he wasn't going to be here next year. We didn't know he wasn't going to be here this week. Mm-hmm. But it would have been great to put him out there, take a timeout, take him out of the game, have the fans show their appreciation for the great work that he did for the Dallas Cowboys over the years, and kind of send him off with a gold watch. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But I'm a firm believer, not only in sports, but in life. The novelist Thomas Wolfe said you can never go home again. And Zeke tried to come home again, and it didn't work. And it just never seems to. Again, whether it's sports or life, it's always a difficult thing to come back home again. And the other part is, I thought, number one, he would be released after they suspended him before that Atlanta game. The suspension came Sunday, and I thought, okay, well, tomorrow we're going to go in and they're going to say, yeah, we released Zeke, best interest of everybody, all that. The big mistake they made was not releasing him at the time.
Sure.
I didn't understand that at all. But once again, gentlemen, they didn't call and get my opinion.
Yeah.
They keep doing that, man.
Yeah, the last time they listened to me, Babe, was 2005, so they probably listened to you before they listened to me.
No, Brian, you got me beat. It was 1990 for me.
Oh.
So you got me beat.
Okay. Well, I would think that they would listen to you more than they would me, for sure. Babe, the one thing that you kind of, the defense is playing better with under Mike Zimmer. They get thrown in some bad situations, but man, this cornerback situation, they could play really good defense, and they could but they're so poor at that corner opposite Bland. How do you get around that? I know it's one game left, but is there anything they could do today that you would like to suggest?
No, I mean, your suggestion, and any fan that walks into the stadium today, their suggestion will be as good as mine. They're talent deficient over there, and when you've gone through 7 corners as starters, and today it's going to be 8 because they're going to start Tony Pride at corner. I don't care who you are. Nobody has that kind of depth, right? You might go 3 deep. You might even be able to get away if you got to start your 4th corner at some point for a little bit, but when you're starting corner number 8, you just throw your hands up in the air. So will they give him some help? Do they travel? Zimmer has not shown a propensity to travel Deron Bland or Trayvon Diggs for the most part. But do they just say, hey, we're so weak on the other side. Hey, 26, Deron, wherever McLaurin goes, you go with him. We'll see.
It's Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Of all the guys that have had to step up in place of injured starters this year, Babe, is there a guy or two that has stood out to you the most and really impressed you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you consider Maris Liufau that guy. Because he was kind of getting some time earlier. But, man, I swear, I was thinking about this last night. I'm doing my charts. I'm looking at stuff. And obviously, we know they won't have Overshown next year, most likely for most of the season. But if you sat there and said, man, we got this Overshown kid and this Liufau kid at these linebacker spots and the things we can do with them, I mean, I'd be excited defensively. But then, of course, I thought, oh, well, wait a minute. Overshown won't be here next year for the most part, and we'll see how he comes back. Second major injury that he's had in his 3 years as a professional athlete. So we'll see, how well he comes back, and that'll be a year from now. But I think the one thing I liked this year, we talked about that corner position being just ramshackled by injuries over there, but the offensive line, I felt like, Awesome Richards, he showed you a little something. T.J. Bass, Hoffman, these guys are probably not going to the Hall of Fame, but for the most part, I felt like they held their own. Adoga's in that category.
Right.
A number of them are free agents, but, that's a position that can really hold you hostage. If you have an offensive lineman that cannot block the guy across from him, it's going to be a long day at the office. So I felt like for the guys they had to plug in there on the offensive line, I thought they really did a pretty good job. And, now you hope you've got some depth for the future. These guys have some experience under their belt. Josh Butler was a guy, playing corner, been on the practice squad for a year and a half. They put him out there, and all of a sudden he looks like Deion Sanders.
Right.
Then he gets hurt, of course. But there's another guy, maybe keep your eye on for next year. So I do think they built some depth. The problem is depth is great, but you got to have those frontline guys. You got to have you got to have those difference makers. And none of the guys that I mentioned, I think, would fall into the category of difference makers.
Babe, I asked my radio teammates this week this question of the guys that need to have, just maybe a guy, or maybe you got 2 in your mind, that need to have a good game today in order to carry them into 2025. And
That's a good question.
And the guy I mentioned to everybody, my guys, was Guyton. I think Guyton, if he were to play, you need now. You might be. I hope I didn't take your guy, but that's kind of the thing I was looking at. Who needs to have a good game today to carry some momentum into 25?
Well, let me first say, Brian, this isn't the prom where one of us is going to have to take the girl or gets to take the girl to the prom.
Well, you usually do because you're the quarterback. I have to block.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm lucky if I have a date for the damn thing.
Can't we both
pick
take
of the litter.
Keep going. I'll just wait. I'll go ahead.
I mean, with calves like that, babe, that's all you have.
Yeah. The guy that wears the tie every day to work, as opposed to the guy that wears the vest, the hunting vest to the.
No, but I mean, I want
to
say Tyler Guyton as well. You know, he's going to start. It was a disappointing year for him. I think it was a disappointing year for the Cowboys, and I think the problem. I say problem, but I don't want to say they deluded themselves in, but they have done such a great job here. And I think sometimes it even gets overlooked of drafting offensive linemen who become Pro Bowlers and possible Hall of Famers. Yeah, they've been plug and play. I mean, Travis Frederick, go back to Tyron Smith in 2011?
Yeah.
These guys just Tyler Smith, who everybody said, oh, this guy, Tulsa, he can
holds
Pro
all
Bowler,
the time. Yeah.
Pro Bowler. And you say, well, we'll just draft this Tyler Guyton guy, and he'll be our left tackle. Well, it takes time for those guys to develop. And I think maybe they got a little deluded, like saying, which I don't blame them. Say, hey, we've done this before. We draft a guy, we put him out there, and he becomes Pro Bowler. But I think a big difference too. Tyler Guyton had 14 starts under his belt in college. These other guys, Zach Martin came out. He started 35 games at Notre Dame. All these guys had 30 to 40 starts. Tyler Guyton had 14, so he's learning on the job.
Now, did you just say that Guyton is expected to start today, babe?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Beautiful. I think that's a must-start situation. Let's get
and I think you want to see what he's got. I would tell him two things. If I don't know anything about offensive line play, I'm going to say, Tyler, I need two things from you today. I need you to line up on the ball. Don't line up in the backfield.
That's a good start.
And I need you to not hold. Pretend like you have boxing gloves on, and don't hold, and line up in the right spot. And let's deal with the rest of it.
I love it.
Because he's got a ton of penalties, as we know, on both those things.
Yes, that's one of the biggest issues of him this season. Just some of those mental mistakes, and that's kept him off the field more often than we would have liked or predicted. But that's good news if he's going to get 4 quarters of ball today.
And I'll say this very quickly. We tend to forget, especially me, I'm an old man, these are young kids. I mean, they're just getting started. So you look at Tyler Guyton, and you're like, well, wait a minute. I've watched Tyron Smith over there for 10 years man that left tackle position as a possible future Hall of Famer. So you got to let some development take place there, and you got to live with some errors, and you just hope at some point he turns the corner. The other part, hey, very quickly, these guys have had such a long year. McCarthy, touched on a little bit even this past week, but your season ends, right? Your college season ends. Of course, then you opt out of your bowl game, and then you go train in California, Florida, wherever, and that's 2 months leading into the combine. Combine happens, you're at your team's mini camp and OTAs, and training camp starts, and it's like a full year cycle. Then add to that, again, you're 21 years old. Now, you can afford the rent, but you got to find a place to live. You got to open up a bank account. You got to all these things that you take place in life. That second year, comes around, and now you settle down, and now you just concentrate on what you're doing. And it's interesting. I had a text from a young man. He's an offensive lineman, and he said, "Man, this is really hard." He's on an NFL team right now, and I said, "Just trust me. Next year will get easier. Next year will be night and day." From that rookie year to that second year. And you hope that happens with Guyton.
No question. Wise words from Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Babe, appreciate the time, man. Enjoy the game, the final one of the year, and, of course, we'll be listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys, and I really have enjoyed our banter in this pregame show, and I mean that. You guys are good. You follow it. I love it. Thank you.
Likewise,
Thank you, babe. Appreciate
Love you more. There he goes. Best Cavs in the business. Babe Laufenberg right here on The Fan, live from the Brad Sham radio booth inside of AT&T Stadium. And, hey, today's game between the Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys here at AT&T Stadium is brought to you by Albertsons and Tom Thumb, the official supermarket and pharmacy of the Dallas Cowboys. All right, we're under 1 hour and 45 minutes to kick off. We'll take a look at the playoff picture, and we go behind enemy lines with the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein, next year on The Fan.
Is your workplace on top of its game? For over 100 years, Pollock Aurora has...
For the community they build, Bell Nunley is behind every great company. Go to bellnunley.com to learn more.
All right, we're just over 90 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Great to have you in live from the Brad Sham Radio booth. Week 18, Commanders in town playing for that 6th seed. They don't want to go to Filthy in the wild card round. Why would they? They could go to Los Angeles, take on the Rams. They could go to Tampa, take on Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. That sounds better. Dan Quinn committed to getting that victory. And this is a revenge game, of course. Earlier in the year, Cowboys go to what should still be FedEx Field.
Northwest Field,
and they play spoilers. Supposed to be a get-right game. Now, we're calling this a revenge game.
I wonder what our guy's going to – I mean, our guy's talking about a get-right game. Do you think you're going to hammer him on it?
Voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein.
I'm going to say, hey, Bram, how would you describe? Is this a get-right game for the Commanders?
It was obviously a get-right game earlier in the season, and that combusted on you real quick. So now, what do you deem this one, Bram? We'll be going behind enemy lines with the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein, coming up here in just a few minutes. But let's take a look at some other things, around the NFL, and obviously the coaching stuff. I mean, the McCarthy stuff is a hot topic, and the more and more we talk to people, and Broaddus, your sources are through the roof. Everybody's kind of shrugging their shoulders, throwing their hands up. Jerry loves the ambiguity, and this is as up in the air a decision. Nobody has a firm grasp on what is going to happen here, but all these national articles with ESPN and NFL Network, CBS, everybody's painting this McCarthy picture like a dude who's got options. And we'll see how that shakes out here. But what are the Cowboys going to do? Is this going to be the last time? At the very least, I hope that today is the last time we see that giant Cheesecake Factory Denny's menu play sheet from McCarthy. Even if his body is still on the sidelines next year, I don't want to see that call sheet. Please bring in someone a little bit more cutting-edge, forward-thinking, and let's get with the times offensively. That's the bare minimum. You keep McCarthy. Please change that playbook.
Yeah, I will say this, though, about Mike McCarthy, and I know the national media, and sometimes we would worry about, okay, is national media stirring it up for Mike McCarthy in a positive way? Is Mike McCarthy, is the Tom Palaceros and the Ian Rappaports and those guys, are they legitimately in the mode right now where they're saying, yeah, he has options? Are they hearing options and stuff like that? I know that coming out of McCarthy's camp, they believe they have options, and we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe the best option for him would be the New Orleans Saints. That appears to be the best of the options that he might have. But I also get the feeling that, if things change where they move on, that they're okay with that too. I think Mike McCarthy, sure, does he want to be here? Does he want to coach? Absolutely. I think there's a legitimate concern about his coaching staff. I think that he really, really does care about these guys and whether they have jobs or not. It's a little bit more difficult for these assistants. They don't have the bankroll, and I say that in a way, or the money in the bank that Mike McCarthy's had for being a longtime NFL head coach. They're not making $5-6 million a year. They're making good money, don't get me wrong, but a lot of these guys don't have that. And so you do worry, and you do worry about opportunities. I mean, there's only so many of these jobs. I think there's a legitimate concern for him for Scott Tolzien. I think he thinks Scott Tolzien's a really good young coach. And so does he want to continue to be able to help Scott Tolzien grow and develop? I think there's some legitimate concerns over that.
Well, couldn't he just copy and paste this staff with the Saints or the Bears?
Oh, no, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, he is going to now. What kind of offer is Jerry Jones willing to make him here? Will Jerry Jones make him? We've seen how the Cowboys have kind of negotiated in the past. Oh yeah, we made an offer, but they don't take the offer. What will Jerry Jones do here? And so to me, it could be, let's. All right, Mike, you want a 1-year deal? You want a 2-year?
No way he's taking that.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no
that's
way.
what I'm saying. Now, if it's a 2-year deal, do you balk at that, or you want to keep coaching? That's the questions that Jerry Jones could very well make an offer, and Mike McCarthy could say, pound sand. No, kick rocks.
Yeah, if the dollars don't match up, the years of the contract don't match up, or, again, the stipulation like I was just painting that picture of, hey, Mike, we'd love to have you back as the head coach, but
you have to. Are you willing to move on? And we're not just talking about –
we need a new play caller.
If we're not just talking about Brian Schottenheimer, well, then that would be the case. Here's Mike McCarthy. He's got loyalty to Brian Schottenheimer because of his, of like what Schottenheimer did for – his dad did for Mike McCarthy. He feels a loyalty to that. So, this is going to be a very, very difficult situation for a lot of people.
Now, elsewhere, the coaching carousel is going to get super, super hot as today goes on, and then starting tomorrow.
Black Monday,
yeah. Which coaches end up being moved on from. And, of course, Ben Johnson is the hottest name out there, the offensive coordinator there for the Lions. They have a huge game tonight, Sunday Night Football versus the Vikings, but we'll see where he wants to go. Some people are tying him to keeping an eye on that Patriots job if they move on from Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
He's a North Carolina guy. Drake May, UNC quarterback. Would he want to go there? You have the Giants still kind of up in the air on will Daboll be back? Will Joe Shine, their GM, be back? Who really knows? And then the Jags might be cleaning house there. And we heard Ben Johnson may want to go to Jacksonville. Everything's sort of up in the air with these coaches right now. I did see ESPN Adam Schefter reporting that the Jets are not expected to have interest in John Gruden should he decide to return to coaching. So
my buddy.
that was one of the reports from earlier today. And the Browns did end up firing offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey after their final game last night.
After they used 9 quarterbacks this year and couldn't score points, right?
40 quarterbacks since 1999 starting after it was Zappy Hour yesterday versus the Ravens. All right, we're live here with the pregame show at AT&T Stadium, the Brad Sham radio booth. Let's go behind enemy lines with the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein.
2:45 to go in overtime. 3rd and goal at the 2. Jaden to the gun. Rodriguez to his right. 2 tight ends to the left. Here's the staff. Jaden's going to throw forward. He does. Into the end. What a catch. Seconds. Who wants to go to the playoffs? Touchdown! Touchdown Washington! They win in overtime! We'll see you in the postseason! Are you freaking kidding me? This is a missile!
Absolutely fantastic. Bram Weinstein, voice of the Commanders there with the Commanders Radio Network, live in the Brad Sham radio booth. Bram, hell of a call. You've had some monster calls this year. I mean, this Commanders team, Jaden Daniels just icing his veins 4th quarter, giving you some awesome walk-off moments.
I think it's the most clutch quarterback play we maybe have ever had. I'll cite you one. There's a million stats I could give you about his season and this season that they've had. But this one really got me this week. 5 times with 30 seconds or less or in overtime, he's thrown a touchdown pass. No quarterback has done that in any single season. Pick the one you like the most. Look, Danny White, Roger Staubach here.
Sure.
Tom Brady, whoever. No one's ever done that. He's been amazing. When the pressure goes up, his blood pressure goes down.
Yeah.
He's the guy we've been looking for a generation, and we're in a protect him at all costs scenario because, you feel like anything's possible with him.
Yeah, and Bram, I loved your call, by the way, of the Hail Mary. How calm you were describing the situation as the clock was ticking down. It was a wonderful call there. I was going to ask you, though, about Dan Quinn and what the difference he has made in this organization. We always talk about culture, and people like to throw that word around. Looks like that he really has made a difference for your culture.
He's really connected. It's funny when you had mentioned Ben Johnson a few moments ago about coaching searches, and he was what was perceived as the lead candidate for Washington, and then he chose not to take an interview for the job. Dan Quinn had already been interviewed for the position, and so the fan base kind of had their eyes set on and hearts set on this one person, and then he wasn't going to take the position. And all of a sudden they had to go to what felt like, not for them, but for the fan base, plan B. And so we started calling around, and a lot of people here and then in other places, and what you got over and over and over was every player who had played for him talks about this culture setter, someone they connect to. He just has this ability to connect with the players differently than a lot of coaches. This organization had needed a reset. It's not just him. It's the new ownership has gone out of its way to roll out the red carpet to the fan base to bring them back in. They have paid a lot of money outside of just buying the team to fix infrastructure at the facilities, to do everything they can possibly do to make it a better experience for everybody, the players, the coaches, the fans. Adam Peters was given a robust front office. He's done an incredible job baselining this roster. There's 30-plus new players on this team. A lot of them veterans, end of their careers. Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, all these different veterans they brought in. And then Quinn had to get this mix together, and it has clicked. And it was obvious in the summer that they had really good chemistry. But with a rookie quarterback, you just didn't know, a brand-new roster. And frankly, they've had heart attack every single week.
Sure.
And they're the ones coming out with the heart still beating. Right. So it's been almost uncanny, and it's just been a wild ride with these guys.
And you've talked about the coaching staff a little bit with Dan, and he was able, with Cliff Kingsbury, though, is there a fear of, like, man, we've seen this year and how this has worked? Is there a fear of losing him? I mean, when you have success, you're going to lose guys and gals along the way.
Yeah, there's obviously, for what's happened here, he's clearly going to get interviews, right? And he should take them. I'll say this, in a couple of ways, I do not expect him to leave unless someone overwhelms him with an offer. One, he really likes being in Washington. Two, he's talked over and over about rekindled joy for the game.
Sure.
Three, he loves Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels and he are very alike. They are grinders. They're the people that show up at 5 o'clock in the morning. He's got a quarterback that's willing to do this. Very humble, high-ceiling player. He had said, before we played Arizona, they asked him about Arizona. And he said, about Kyler Murray, because people were kind of asking him about the relationship, and he said, I bet my career on him.
Sure.
So he said. So when you hear him say something like that, why wouldn't he bet his career on this kid, considering what he's doing? And then third, and this is probably the most important part of it, he's still under contract with the Cardinals. So he's getting head coach money for another year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just offset, by what Washington is paying him. That's why I go back to someone's going to have to overwhelm him, I think, to get him to leave. So unless that happens, and it could, I would be very surprised if he actually leaves.
Yeah, and we're seeing it take place in Detroit right now with Ben Johnson, a guy who for the last couple of years has had an opportunity to go be a head coach somewhere, but he sees himself in a phenomenal spot with the Lions, and he's like, why not take this to the moon here? So you're seeing an example of it take place right here, but Kingsbury's been really, really impressive this year and has definitely exceeded my expectations for what I had from coming in.
Yeah.
And this offense taken off. Jaden Daniels, back to him for a second. Is it the composure and the late game stuff that has been the biggest surprise to you? How have you seen him get better this year?
It's everything. He's a really humble kid. He's got a tremendous amount of humility to him. When you ask him about all these amazing things he does, he just shrugs it off. I'm just playing. He doesn't really, or he won't admit it for sure. He is not an ego-driven, me-first person. He's not asking for a lot of attention. I think it's why his teammates really, really, really have kind of fallen in love with him. He's got this unique friendship with Bobby Wagner now, who's a first-ballot Hall of Famer who's at the end of his career. They're the two in the building at 5:30 in the morning, watching film, talking to one another. And then the talent's off the charts. When you watch him play, he is very unique. He doesn't look like he's moving that fast until you see it, and he's running by people. He's gliding. I thought Chris Collinsworth put it well when he described him as a slalom skier. It kind of looks like that a little bit. He's just moving that way. And again, it's just, I don't think you could teach clutch.
No,
we haven't
cannot.
seen it in a long time, and man, does he got it.
Yeah,
sure. Are they running him more now as well? I mean, 16 carries, 120-plus yards last week versus the Falcons. When we saw him earlier in the year, he ran the ball efficiently, 7 carries for 70-something yards. But, I mean, you go from 7 carries earlier in the year versus the Cowboys to 16 last week. Have they just sort of unleashed him like, hey, we're in sort of must-win postseason mode now. Go do your thing.
Yes, I think it's a little bit of that. It's more they trust them. Most of these carries are unscripted runs. They have a few that are, scripted run plays, but for the most part, they're not trying to do that. And I think the thing that was really, what they loved about him coming in is he's really pass first. He's actually not a running quarterback, but he's very capable. Obviously, he's very capable. What is different now, and this happened actually with the Eagles a couple weeks ago. When he played you guys the first time, he was coming off this rib injury.
Sure.
And what we found out about him then, and we didn't know, was he's willing to play through injury that really marginalized him for about a month. He was starting to kind of turn the corner when he played you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the bye. And then all of a sudden, he looks like the guy from week 3, 4, 5, 6. We saw this early in the season, this kind of uncanny ability that when a play breaks down, forget it. We've converted more fourth downs in a single season ever. We're number 1 in converting fourth downs. He's thrown multiple touchdown passes on fourth down plays.
Sure.
He had the 4th and 11 a couple weeks ago against Philadelphia that kept that game alive, where he had this crazy run where he made 7 players miss him. I mean, there's a basketball aspect to him. He's like a point guard.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go play for the Mavericks. It's wild,
Sure,
the things that he does. Yeah. So, I'm no longer surprised by any of this. Here's the only part I'm surprised about. I'm surprised he's not getting a slice of the MVP conversation because of the way he's played this year and how clutch he's been. And I can't listen, everyone else, all these other guys who are in this conversation have had great seasons,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. Tell me somebody who's been more clutch, won more games for their team, and is more important to their team than him, and I'll wait for your answer.
No, Mark Sanchez. We had Mark Sanchez on earlier, and Mark Sanchez mentioned him first. I mean, he's saying, listen, how could you not look at what Jane Daniels, and as an LSU alum, I've seen everything you're seeing right now for what he's the last 2 years at LSU and the Heisman Trophy. I mean, he is an incredible player, like you say, the way he moves and stuff like that. But I want to ask you this question too about today, and it's go out, try and get the 6th seed and avoid Philadelphia in that first round. What's the health of your offensive line right now? Is that a concern of going forward into this thing for you guys and going into the playoffs?
Yes, I don't expect Tyler Biadasz to play today. I'm waiting for the inactives that may be out now. I don't expect him to play. Andrew Wiley missed last week, the right tackle. I think he's going to play today. I saw him warming up. Cornelius Lucas, primary backup, got injured last week. Sure. I don't expect him to be able to play. Yes, I think that's the biggest issue for them heading into the playoffs. And I do believe that's the spot that they want to be careful about to try to keep healthy. This is a team that doesn't want to be complacent. They don't want to take their foot off the gas. Everybody in Washington they have the best record they've had since 1991, so they're ready to throw a parade for this team, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Dan Quinn doesn't want it. He's like, this is not award season yet. We're not done here. We think there's more. He keeps saying there's more under the hood. Yeah. We can be better. They don't want to be complacent. We haven't won there in a long time, especially consistently. So it is the big concern for me, like for them moving forward. What is their offensive line going to do? Can they protect Jaden? Does he have to be Superman every week for them to win? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that's sustainable, throughout the playoffs. So hopefully they'll get healthy. But they want to win for a lot of reasons, and I think part of it is don't tell us how great we are yet.
Sure.
Our story hasn't been written totally yet.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I love watching your guys' tape. I was going to ask you about the running back situation with Brian Robinson. When the first time we played against you guys, felt like that his yards per carry maybe was a little bit better than what it is now. Is that because of the offensive line and some of the struggles they have, or is it no Austin Eckler to kind of help with maybe some of the workload there?
Yeah, I think it's all of it. Eckler is going to play a little bit today. I don't know how much I think they want to get. That was scary what happened at the end of the first meeting. We weren't sure he was going to come back, so that's a nice sign that he's available to them. I think it does matter when they're both on the field, so I have a feeling we're going to see a little bit of that to get ready for the playoffs again. Robinson's performance, though, in the last few weeks has been one of the surprising downturns of the year. His yards per carry are down. He's been terrific in protection, but running the ball, I think he's gotten out of the lanes they want him to get into, and I think that's part of it here. He's kind of gotten out of the scheme. And getting him going right again, because he really was the heartbeat of the offense for a long time. Yeah. I think getting him going again is another thing that I think needs to happen if they're going to make any real noise starting next week, whoever their opponent is.
The last time the two teams met, Micah Parsons playing a lot of that 3 technique inside, playing some defensive tackles. It looked like Dallas was hunting some matchups there. You're telling me about the offensive line here, so maybe some of that concern today with where Micah Parsons lines up across
100%.
that.
Yeah, I mean, we could be down to a third right tackle again.
Sure.
I could see him on the outside.
Yeah.
He ate up the interior offensive line first time, Nick Allegretti, numerous times. I agree with you. He's a problem, but he's also maybe the best defensive player in the NFL. And I have a feeling that every week you ask somebody, what do they do about to stop Micah Parsons? Exactly. And they're going to have a hard time with him.
No, exactly. I mean, you're going to get some double team blocks inside. I think that, like I said, Dallas was hunting some matchup. Mike Zimmer was hunting some matchups. And so I'm kind of interested with, you being really honest, and I appreciate about your offensive line. If Dallas is going to do anything today, it's probably going to have to be Micah Parsons doing something with some pass rush stuff.
And he's on the hunt for double-digit sacks once again. So
and that's history for him, right? Yeah. It would be the first player, there's 3 players ever that have had double-digit sacks first 4 years. So
yeah, he's playing for something there for sure. So is Zach Ertz, by the way. He's got some incentives to hit. How much conversation you think Jaden Daniels like, Zach, I got you, man?
There's a lot on the line in these moments. If Terry McLaurin gets a touchdown, no receiver in Washington history has had 13 in a single season, so he can set a standard.
With the history of the Commanders, it's never had more than 13.
He's tied with 4 others, a couple of them Hall of Famers, Bobby Mitchell, Charlie Taylor, with 12.
Charlie Taylor, damn good player.
he could break a moment. There's other incentives, and Ertz is one of them. He hit a few actually on that touchdown catch. I think it was $750,000 on that catch alone last week in overtime. He set a number for touchdowns, catches, yards, all on this one catch. So he's got some more to gain, but he got a nice check a week ago.
Wow, I love it. All right, well, the last time we met, it was a get-right game for the Commanders that got blown up in their face. This is this is a revenge game, must win.
Yeah.
Go get that 6th seed, avoid filthy in the wild card round. Huh?
It is a little bit of that. They also, while it's very unlikely, I think you can all agree the NFC feels very wide open.
Sure.
If they get the 6th seed, there is an unlikely possibility they could have a home game in the playoffs, and they've talked
Rams
about
did
this.
that, right? Didn't the Rams do on the Super Bowl run? I think they had a home game.
I think the most interesting part is, like, if things break a certain way, all 3 games in the NFC next week would all be Week 1 rematches.
Yeah.
That's very possible.
Oh, wow.
The Lions could play the Rams. The Eagles will probably play the Packers. That was in Brazil, and Washington opened in Tampa Bay. Yeah. So that's very possible that that's the matchups next week.
I love it, man. Great time of year. Congrats.
Eric's
on the
pulling for it. He's pulling for a draft position for the Cowboys.
It's a must-lose game, in my opinion.
He called it a must-lose game as we went on the air.
I think you're going to get your wish today. Because, you know what? This is the last thing, and I haven't heard this from a coach in a while, and I'm glad to hear it. I don't know how you guys feel about the rivalry these days, but it's still hot and heavy up in Washington. And to hear a coach, Joe Witt, who was here, say out loud, guys, we need to beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Loudly said that. That was music to everybody's ears back home.
There you go. No doubt about it. Well, Bram Weinstein, we appreciate the time, man, and good luck the rest of the way.
Good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There he goes, behind enemy lines with the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein, live from the Brad Sham radio booth here at AT&T Stadium. Just over an hour and 15 minutes to kick off. Let's get the scoop from the best in the business, Christy Scales, next year on the Fan.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
All right, we're just over an hour and 10 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Let's get the scoop from Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, standing on the turf here at AT&T Stadium. Christy, happy game day to you. Looks like Trey Lance getting the start, huh?
The start and the whole game, unless there's an injury situation. Cooper Rush will be second team. Will Greer, who was signed to the 53-man roster yesterday. I know some of us in the media and longtime observers thought that maybe he would be the second-string quarterback today and maybe get some time at the end of the game, but that's not the case. He's been designated as the emergency third quarterback, so the only way that Greer would get into the game is if both Lance and Rush were injured. That's the only way we'll get to see Will Greer today.
All right, and what do you think the coaches and the personnel department really would like to see from Lance today?
I'm told that we want to see Trey be Trey. We want to see him, in the pocket make some throws. I think they're going to move him a little bit, some bootlegs and things like that. But they want him to be him within the parameters of the passing game, of the game plan. I'll tell you what I don't want to see from Trey Lance, and I think it's the same thing that I said before the preseason finale where Lance got the playing time. And I don't want to look up at the stat sheet at the end of the day and see that Trey Lance is the leading rusher on the day. Yeah. Because we know that he can move. We know that he can use his legs, right? So let's give him some good enough pass protection, or let's move him around just a bit. Let's see him go through his reads and deliver the ball accurately. That's what I want to see from Trey Lance.
Christy, a lot to be talked about what's going to happen at corner. We've visited with Babe about it and others. And what do you see the cornerback spot opposite Bland? What do you got there for us today?
Well, Troy Pride Jr. is going to start. So when they're in a base, the two outside cornerbacks are going to be Deron Bland and Troy Pride Jr. And then when they go in the nickel situation, of course, it'll be Jordan Lewis there in the nickel. But I know one of the things that we talked about last week going into that game in Philly where Andrew Booth got the start, was playing outside and they just kept Lewis inside. We were wondering, well, why not let Lewis play outside and then move him inside in the nickel and then insert Booth or whoever? Well, Booth is not starting today. It's Pride, but they're going with the same plan as last week where just Lewis will be where he's been for the whole year, just playing on the inside and then in the nickel.
Christy Scales with us here on The Fan. Who is a part of the inactive crew today?
Yeah, so Chuma Edoga with that toe injury, and I know that Babe Laufenberg told you earlier that Tyler Guyton is starting at left tackle. Chuma Edoga is inactive today with that toe injury, and the other inactives have to do with the defensive side of the ball. So usual suspects of Tyrus Wheat and Justin Rogers. The new defensive end that they signed this week, Ernest Brown, inactive from Denton. And then linebacker Damone Clark. And with Damone, that's has to do, I think, with numbers going long in the secondary. I will say one thing is there was some question today as to whether or not Donovan Wilson would be able to play today. He missed some practice time this week and missed the end of last week's game in Philadelphia with a knee injury. But the good news is that Wilson will be able to play today, but he was a game day decision.
Okay, great. And let's see here. Is there any young guys that haven't really played a lot but will get some more playing time today?
I really was thinking that this would be a good time to see more of Awesome Richards, right? And why not let Willetsko out there? I mean, I know that you want to give Trey Lance, the best pass protection possible and stuff, but, get some of these guys out there. Dono's been banged up. Let Wanye play more at safety. But I'm told that, no, the plan is if those guys get in, it'll be injury situation, that other than Trey Lance, the plan is to play the normal guys the whole game, and the only way you'll see those backups is if something were to happen with the starters.
And quickly, do we have any other incentives to watch for today? We know about the Cooper Rush stuff, but doesn't look like he's going to be playing too much.
Well, Eric Kendricks, who's played over 82% of snaps, he gets $500,000 for 75% of snaps, so he'll hit that. Interestingly, Carl Lawson, 3 sacks would have been $125,000. 5 sacks, another $125,000. That's the contract he signed in August. But remember, he was waived. He was released and then re-signed to the practice squad and then elevated to the 53-man roster after he was cut that first time. That's null and void. So he's already reached the 3 sacks, but because of that roster move back in August, he doesn't get the 125.
Oh, that's a bummer. He's had a nice little season as well. Christy, you're the best. We appreciate the time, and we look forward to catching up with you again next hour.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales. All right, so Trey Lance getting the start. And, of course, you're going to get Tyler Guyton getting the start as well with Noah Doga today. So that's exactly what I want to see here, Broaddus. That's fantastic. Week 18, and look at this. We are just over 60 minutes to kickoff here at AT&T Stadium. Coming up next, we'll hear from head coach Mike McCarthy. We'll go into the owner's box with the Jones boys, and, of course, more analysis from the Super Bowl champion himself, Bryan Broaddus. That's next right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals.
Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's Feed Your Wild Side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Tyson Foods. Get your Tyson Cowboys Star Nuggets. Available now. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
All right, we're under 60 minutes to kick off here the season finale, Cowboys and Commanders at AT&T Stadium. Welcome into the official pregame show here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. I'm Eric Chiofalo alongside the Super Bowl champion, Bryan Broaddus. It's a Trey Lance football Sunday here at AT&T today. Broaddus, he's getting the start, looking to go 4 quarters. What do you expect to see with the Commanders playing for that 6th seed? The Commanders are playing for something today.
Yeah, Commanders are absolutely playing for something. We kind of gone through it this morning, trying to get that 6th seed, trying to make sure that they don't have to make that trip to Philadelphia potentially. It's either to Los Angeles, indoors, great conditions for their offense to work, potentially Tampa, another great conditions, outdoors, anything to not have to deal with the Eagles in that first round will probably be pretty good for Philadelphia. We've seen a history where teams also, the higher the seed, maybe things fall a different way, and then next thing you know, you're hosting a game. I believe the Rams had that situation during their Super Bowl run. But yeah, it's a lot to play for if you're a Washington Commander. The Cowboys trying to kind of finish this thing out. Going to take a look at Trey Lance, and and hopefully they will see some things that they can kind of maybe evaluate to see, like, okay, well, we're interested in Trey Lance being our backup quarterback next year. Maybe there's some things. What you would hope for, Eric, is what we saw in the preseason, as Babe Laufenberg said, wasn't great, but he got a lot of opportunity. You're hoping for some improvement as this 17-week season has gone along. Maybe there's something that in this game it's like, oh, okay, that looks a little better. Oh, he looks a little bit more accurate. Oh, look what they're doing here offensively. That's the hope right now for the evaluation of Trey Lance, that you saw something better than what you saw in that final preseason game to where we are today.
Yeah, for sure. I know Mike McCarthy or Jerry Jones said this week of Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff, sort of the haze in the barn and the evaluation process is sort of over. We're still in limbo on what's going to happen with Mike McCarthy and the rest of this coaching staff, but it would certainly be a nice notch on the belt for McCarthy, who's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer guy, if you can see some drastic improvements from Trey Lance, what he showed in the preseason to then today coming out here against the Commanders again with plenty on the line, a team that's looking to get this victory. If Trey Lance can show a little something here, I think that would be a nice little notch on the belt for Mike McCarthy as well.
Yeah, and that's something, Mike McCarthy, if you look at the metrics, Mike McCarthy when he's had to play with backup quarterbacks, has had some success. And it's not many coaches can say that. Kyle Shanahan can say that, and Mike McCarthy is right there with Kyle Shanahan with the number of wins. It's going to be difficult for them to beat the Commanders today with so much on the line, but things have happened. Stranger things have happened. I know that would be a big kick in the rear for you and a lot of Cowboy fans if, in fact, that are looking at draft position. Now, if you're focusing, the season, you're trying to think, okay, a lot of things need to be done in order for the Cowboys to compete, not only in this conference, but just in this division with Philadelphia. The Commanders appear to be getting better. Who knows if the Giants are going to get their quarterback? You need to be in that position to where you're drafted, not just the first round, but every round. So I can understand why fans and people who are really into team building are hoping this game goes a little wrong for the Cowboys. But from the personnel aspect of it, though, I'm fighting for my life right now.
Right.
I'm trying to finish this thing off well. And I'm sure that's where the players, the coaches, and the front office is. The fans who, sure, they'd love to see a win against the Commanders, but there's also another side of the fan base of, let me build this football team and let me have the best picks possible going forward.
Yeah, Cowboys could be picking as high as 11th in the draft or as low as 16th. So that's kind of like the window.
That 5-player swing is big, considering for the early studies that I've done myself, it's like 15 first-round grades on that board right now. So player 16 would have a second-round grade. I think that's the kind of the consensus as I start to talk about with my gang of 7 who are working for these other teams.
It's the pregame show brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons looking for double-digit sacks once again, and will he have some opportunities? Looks like this Commanders' offensive line's a little banged up.
Yeah, they are, and that's Mike Zimmer did a really nice job of moving Micah Parsons around in order to create some matchups. No Tyler Biadasz at center today, and Nick Allegretti has had some problems with some power and quickness inside. So here we are, a couple of weak spots. Let's see what Oso Digizu was able to do. Let's see what Micah Parsons is able to do. Heck, Mazi Smith has found a way to play well against division opponents. If you remember the game last time that was played there in Landover, it was Mazi Smith that got up the field, and all of a sudden Brian Robinson gets twisted around. His ankle's not any good, and then he's limited really the rest of that football game. That affected that very first play. Mazi Smith getting up the field. Can the Cowboys take advantage of some things inside at this guard and center spot to maybe get them a little pass rush and maybe control the running game with Brian Robinson and Eckler as well?
Yeah, Eckler's back today after being banged up towards the end of that first matchup versus the Cowboys, so we'll see how much opportunity he gets with the Commanders' offense today. Of course, Jaden Daniels has been absolutely lights out, your unanimous Rookie of the Year, and he's been running a lot more. He'll have some opportunities to run around on the Cowboys today. All right, we're just getting started here at AT&T Stadium, just under 60 minutes to kick off, and perhaps for the final time ever, certainly for the final time this season, it's the Coach's Corner. Your voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, standing by with Mike McCarthy. That's coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks a kickoff. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
All right, we're just over 45 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Season finale, Cowboys and Commanders. Just saw a very interesting Adam Schefter report on ESPN as it pertains to Mike McCarthy being safe or out. I'll give you that coming up here in just a moment. But right now, we throw things over to the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy for today's Coach's Corner. Brad, take it away.
Thank you, guys. Strange to have the last game of the year and know it's the last game of the year. That's something that has not been the case for Mike McCarthy very much in his career. Has it been odd for you preparing for it this week because of that?
I would say it's been odd preparing for it because I think just like anything, it's your preparation schedule, the meetings and everything. There's a routine to it. There's a, a timing to it and everything. But I think pulling in here today, it's been the reality of it is clear. So just looking forward to competing and finishing the season on the right note.
All right. Smaller elephant in the room, the quarterback. You have not, for understandable reasons, wanted to talk about it during the week, but you're going to start Trey Lance today. What things went into your thought process about how to approach the quarterback situation this week, and what can you learn about him? What can you see from him?
Well, I think just like anything, I mean, he has there's value in Trey, and how he stands on our team, and he's been doing all the right things. I didn't think he was ready for this or prepared for this, and in any way would keep us from, your opportunity to go win the game, then we wouldn't be making this decision. So, sorry, but Trey's had a really good year. Prepares each week like a starter, and very happy what Cooper's done with his opportunity. But we just felt that we wanted to go out there and give Trey a shot.
How do you think Trey is different from the guy who played the third preseason game?
Oh, he's definitely more comfortable in the offense. I think just the fact that the mental reps, that the quarterback school, the footwork training, the ability to exercise a game plan week in and week out. The responsibility that he has in the quarterback room as far as, he's in charge of the signals, and, everybody has a role in the room. So, and he's done a really good job. So he's clearly better prepared today than he was going into the third preseason game.
The opportunity for you to win the game is controlled in part by who Dan plays. And you've been in this situation before, when you go into a last game, and there may be some benefit to resting people, there may be some benefit to having them play. When you did that, what are the things that you weigh? Should I sit him? Should I not sit him?
Obviously, there's a lot of variables in that decision, and clearly having the ability to move up, as a seed is, there's definitely something to play for there, clearly. But the health of your team is I've always made as was always the equalizer. If you're leaning one way or the other, I always erred on the side of health. I've sat players in the last game, lost the playoff game, but I still felt it was the right decision, because I think at the end of the day, when you do line up in the playoffs, you want to be as healthy as possible and have the opportunity to have your full 48, 49 players ready to go.
Any other, besides Trey, any other young players who you might want to see today who, under other circumstances, would have been other circumstances that put them in?
I just think, everybody that's playing today has been rotating in. So, yeah, we don't have any, I'd like to see more Deuce today. That could be one. Our young receivers, just want to see them take advantage of their opportunities, but that was really how we lined up last week. So, it's more of the young players that have been playing, just, maybe get more opportunities today and take advantage of that.
Yeah, I asked you about the young receivers last week, but I'll ask you about them again. Anybody step forward this week? Anybody kind of make you say, I just want to see that guy more?
No, that's a great point. I think they all did. I think they all recognize, when the game plan comes out and when they're in a certain position, whether the X, the F, or the Z, that, they have a good chance to get the ball thrown to them. So I just think, like anything, the practice has been good. I mean, if GPS an indicator on how we're going to play today, then we're going to have a hell of a day. So, but we know that's not the case. But yesterday's practice was the best. Was the second highest workload of the season. So I mean, hey, the men have worked. They're prepared, and I hope these young players take advantage of this opportunity.
Last question I'll ask you is the other elephant in the room. You've been very clear addressing what comes next for you and the staff. I was really intrigued by what you said. I think it was Thursday. About how, and you alluded to it just a minute ago, when you drove in, you know what the situation is, and you have to be aware that maybe this is the last time you're in this office, maybe it's not. I'm just curious in what your feelings are about all that as you prepare to, then now you have to put it aside and go coach the game.
Definitely. Actually arrived here a little later than normal, but yeah, I've been reflecting, but at the end of the day, when you walk through these doors, it's about winning the game. So I definitely have been reflecting on a lot of things, but this is about beating Washington right now. That's my responsibility. That's what I'm focused on.
All right, Mike. Good luck. Appreciate the time.
All right, thank you, Brad.
All right, fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad Sham. That's today's Coach's Corner with head coach Mike McCarthy. And Broaddus, I just saw Adam Schefter on ESPN. He's going through all of the potential head coach firings, and he's doing the safe or out.
Mm-hmm.
He did put the leaning towards safe as it pertains to Mike McCarthy here with the Cowboys, but he did call it a fluid situation.
Sure.
And he said that from his perspective, it sounds like Jerry wants him back, but not everyone in the building does. So he's leaning towards Jerry swinging the biggest stick. Jerry's going to get what he wants. But again, he called it a fluid situation, leaning towards McCarthy being safe. Jerry wants him back, but not everyone in the building does. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a very interesting way to put it. We've had the opportunity as our show on 105.3 The Fan, the G-Bag Nation, the flagship there, 105.3, that we've had a chance to talk to Stephen Jones, and he was talking very glowingly about Mike McCarthy and the job that the coaching staff had done and the way the players. So, if you lean towards the positivity, sometimes with these coaches you get we'll wait and see. You don't get the vote of confidence. You get hey, we've got more games. It's more about got to find a way to beat the Commanders this week. That's our focus. You usually get that kind of, but they've been very, 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 very forthright about talking about Mike McCarthy in a positive way, to the point that 3 weeks ago I was challenging Jerry Jones on a post-game show about, listen, if you guys think this is good enough, get a hold of Don Yee, get this thing done, and go forward. So, until, if Jerry would have come out or Stephen would have come out and said, listen, we're in negotiations right now with Don Yee, who represents Mike McCarthy, then where this direction is going to go. Now, will Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones make enough of an offer to Mike McCarthy to get him to stay? Will it be worth his while, or are they just saying, here you go, here's where we think you are, and then Mike says, no, I don't want to do that. So we'll see how this thing plays out. I think that's why Adam Schefter's doing what he's doing. I'm interested to hear what the Tom Pelisseros and the Jay Glazers and those guys have. Those are guys that are really, really, really close with Mike McCarthy. And if they're kind of not sure, that tells me that that Mike McCarthy's not sure right now where his status really, really is.
Well, Jerry certainly knows how to keep the interest level high, and the ambiguity is what feels like at an all-time high right now when it comes to Mike McCarthy and this coaching staff. All right, it's the pregame show here at AT&T Stadium. Just over 35 minutes to a season finale kickoff. Cowboys and Commanders will continue to get to know the enemy, and we'll go into the owner's box. That's coming up next. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise.
Here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
All right, we're just over 30 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. We'll go into the owner's box with Jerry Jones here in just a moment. But Cowboys fans, if you're making your way out to the game today, Legends Hospitality closing the season out with a bang, dude. Brisket, mac and cheese on deck.
Unreal.
For all Cowboys fans. I just watched Broaddus wolf that thing down. You gave it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, absolutely.
And Legends always getting it done. It's a bowl of the famous Cowboys mac and cheese, one of one. The final time of the year, you get that famous mac and cheese here at AT&T Stadium. It's loaded with famous bent buckle premium Angus beef, brisket, 14-hour pecan, and hickory wood smoked, out of this world. And, of course, topped with the signature bent buckle Texas barbecue sauce and the pickled jalapenos.
See,
Nice touch.
The barbecue sauce gives the brisket a little sweetness to it with the mac and cheese there. Just a great bite throughout that whole meal. And thank you so much to Legends and what they've done for us all year long is bringing us these meals and stuff to try. And I just know that the fans out there that have used them or taken them in all year have really enjoyed them just as much as we have.
Always hitting it out of the park. Legends Hospitality, we salute you, as well as the Pepsi gelatos today. Refreshing, delicious gelato made with a choice of Mountain Dew or Wild Cherry Pepsi and just regular Pepsi, available at the Pepsi fan deck on the upper concourse. All right, we'll go inside the booth and get the keys to the game. Brad Sham, Christy Scales coming up in a few minutes, but right now we go into the owner's box. Christy Scales standing by with Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones.
Guys, this time we really are in the owner's box. Jerry is surrounded by the fans here in the Miller Lite Club, and I know fans like you, Jerry, are excited to see Trey Lance get a full game. We're seeing Trey Lance go through his warm-ups. What do you want to see from him in the game today?
People that had come all the way from North Dakota to watch him play. They've got to follow the team that he played for, and Lance's brother has played for that team as well. So somebody knew something that maybe we all didn't before the game. So we're glad to see him get this start, and hope that he has the kind of outing that you'd like to see him have. He's had one of the most unique careers of anybody that I've heard about, of his high draft status, yet he really hadn't played a lot of football. Hadn't played a lot of football in college.
Yeah.
And so he's fairly new to the game, but Mike has got plays that he should be able to really help us win the game with.
Speaking of Mike McCarthy, I know you told the fan that the hay is in the barn in terms of evaluating him. You have had to make hard calls in the past on coaches. What have you learned from those lessons in the past?
The hay's not in the barn in evaluating Lance, if that's all you...
No, and evaluating McCarthy.
And from the standpoint of Mike and many of those guys, if you don't have seen enough experience, whether they had the experience with us or the Cowboys, if you haven't seen enough at this point, what goes on out here today won't impact that.
When you've made hard calls in the past, what lessons do you draw upon that to inform?
A period of things, but the main thing is I use a lot of input from key people that are associated with the team, players. I use former coaches. I use input from really interested fans, and not get it all.
Thanks so much. We appreciate the visit, Jerry. That's the view from the owner's box, actually from the Miller Lite Club this time around. As we continue counting down to Commanders-Cowboys kickoff, let's rejoin Eric and Bryan.
Thank you, Christy. And today's owner's box brought to you by Yeti, the official cooler of the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. There he is, Jerry, talking about the hay in the barn for the evaluation for Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff. Of course, a lot to learn about Trey Lance today for sure. And just a reminder, Adam Schefter on ESPN this morning, calling it a fluid situation as it pertains to Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff. He does consider McCarthy to be safe and not out, but it sounds like Jerry wants him back, but maybe not everybody in the building does. So that's the Mike McCarthy update for you. Now, Broaddus, we get to know the enemy, brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. And let's go ahead and get that zebra report.
Yeah, we've come for a full circle, Eric. Clete Blakeman is the official for today's game. He had your very first game against Cleveland this year, so they circled back with Clete. This one, folks, hang on to it because this guy calls a lot of penalties, and the second most in the league when it comes to the number of calls that him and his crew make. usually you get the false start penalties or offsides as being the top penalties. This guy has offensive holding as his number one. So, keep an eye on that one. Offensive holding, I mentioned. The false start penalties would be their next most, but that's kind of that's a discipline thing. That's really not an officiated thing. Unnecessary roughness, 22. That's the highest number that I've seen this year of all the officiating crews. Maybe trying to keep control of games. Maybe he's in some games too where things get a little chippy, and then they try and kind of reel it back in. So any talking after it, any pushing, shoving, be alert that Blakeman's crew might give you a flag. Defensive pass interference, defensive holding, the illegal formation is another one too that you need to worry about as well. This is where you line up incorrectly. The Cowboys have struggled with that, and here's another a refereeing crew that watches the clock. Delay of game, 13 of those have been called by this crew. So if it's Trey Lance in the game trying to get the ball snapped, keep an idea maybe that Mike McCarthy might have to burn a timeout or two along the way in order to save Trey Lance from taking a 5-yard penalty.
Beautiful. There it is, today's Zebra Report for the final time for the Cowboys 2024 season. All right, let's go inside the booth. We're under 30 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. We'll have a conversation with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. That's next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Hey Dallas Cowboys fans, hope y'all are ready for game day. We all know a car accident can put anyone on the sidelines.
Roger that, Sally.
he's not happy that they're not playing another game.
Sure.
Right. The contract thing is not bothering him today. He knows how to handle that. He's here to be playing more than 17 games. So he's aware of the fact that he's driving home after this game without another game to prepare for.
Right.
And that's what they live for, is preparing for the next game.
Absolutely.
So, but everything considered, he's in pretty good mood.
Brad, I'm going to put you in a terrible spot.
That's my job, Broaddus.
No, I mean, I'm going to take it over.
He's good at it, too, though.
I'm going to take it over for today. Do you think he wanted to start Trey Lance today?
I don't know that he didn't want to. I
wonder if there was a suggestion. It's just me being. Me being reckless.
Well, that's you being kind of glass half empty, but
no. I want to win today. Eric wants to lose for a better draft position.
Yeah, that really irritates me.
I'm sorry.
And here's why.
Now I threw it back at you.
Yeah, there we go.
And here's why: the people who want to lose a game for the better draft position have no respect for what players go through to win a game, to prepare for a game. That's so disrespectful to Jordan Lewis.
Sure.
Osa Odigizua. I don't mean to take it all out on you. I happen to be looking at
It's all good. It's all good.
I feel bad for dragging you into this.
I made this bed.
Those guys, that is so disrespectful to them. Why don't you go out there and do your worst and see if you can put yourself in a position for someone to come take your job? I mean, it's just awful. I understand it from the business standpoint. You'd rather have a bet like Brian said a few minutes ago. The difference between 11 and 15, it's a big difference.
Big difference.
But you have to play to win. But I think under these circumstances, you heard what he said.
Sure.
If I didn't think he was ready for this, I wouldn't play him.
See, that's what I'm saying, though. I think that he wants to win this game, and I think Cooper Rush gives him the best chance to win this game.
Yes, and
Cooper Rush played great against these guys last time.
Okay.
Couldn't it be a notch on the belt, though, if Trey Lance looks good and you're like, hey, Mike, that was your doing?
Last time was about 2 kickoff returns in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The defense played well.
Oh, no, they played great. But Cooper Rush, the passing percentage, I mean, you go through and look at all the things that they gave up.
You know what? If I stand here 10 feet from you and throw you the ball 10 times and you catch 10 of them, my passing percentage is 100.
I think he played well enough to help win that game.
He did. He absolutely did. From a business standpoint,
right?
You know this. They're both out of contract.
Oh, no, absolutely.
And I would, if it was me, I would want to know. And I don't think, parentheses, I believe that they haven't talked about Jerry and McCarthy. I believe they haven't talked about it.
Oh, I think you're right about that 100%.
But they both know, each of them knows what they want.
Sure.
Okay? So if McCarthy was really, and I asked him, walking out of his office, I said, is this, like, off the air? I said, is this weird?
Mm-hmm.
He said, I don't know about weird. I don't like it. But part of what he doesn't like was the fact that they didn't have another game to prepare for.
Yeah.
But he knows that they've got to have the most information they can get to decide if either one of them is going to be the backup quarterback. Because if you ask me right now, I would say Will Greer is the backup quarterback on this team next year. Now, they have to decide. They know what Cooper Rush is.
Right.
What's he going to cost?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what Lance is going to cost, but if he were to go out there, Eric, I hope this addresses your question. If he were to go out there today and really play well against a team that's trying to win, well, that would count for something.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
So I think that he understands the value.
There's a lot to play for the Cowboys, too, today. A lot to play for players.
Oh,
for that.
Holy cow.
A lot to play
for.
for.
Yeah, there's so many of them. There's over a dozen of them who are playing for a job wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Brad, it's been a great season.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Good to have you guys
always.
up here always. Thank you.
Have a great offseason,
they're
man.
just so disrespectful. Why are you so disrespectful?
I'm working on it. I'm working on my manners this offseason. That's my New Year's resolution. Brad Sham, ladies and gentlemen, voice of the Cowboys, live in the Brad Sham radio booth. Let's take it down to the turf here at AT&T Stadium. Christy Scales and her keys to the game, brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy, really enjoyed that conversation with Jerry Jones. What's on the front of your mind right now?
Well, with Trey Lance, just let's see him run the offense. And, yeah, they may move him around a little bit, but I don't want to see him bolting out of the pocket, pulling the ball down and running too much. Let's have him play within the game plan. And yet they say they still want Trey Lance to be Trey Lance. So we'll see what that means. As for running quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, they're third in the league in rushing, the Commanders are, and their leading rusher is their quarterback. So with Jaden Daniels, we know that he has a Pro Bowl target in Terry McLaurin, who has 12 touchdowns this year. But I think one of the reasons that Jaden Daniels is in the Pro Bowl is not because of the passing to McLaurin, but what he's done with his legs and so many yards before contact. So as Greg Ellis and the defensive coaches would say, keep him in the cage and don't let him get those dynamic catalytic plays because you aren't disciplined with your pass rush.
And I heard McCarthy with Brad earlier mention Deuce Vaughn as a name. He's obviously active today. Maybe he gets a couple of touches.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been on the 53-man roster all year, but has barely gotten a chance to play. So one reason for granting Zeke Elliott the release, granting the request to let him go is, and they filled the spot with Troy Pride, the cornerback who's going to start today, opposite Deron Bland, but by not filling it with Dalvin Cook or another running back, that means that that Deuce Vaughn will actually get a chance to get some reps today.
Well, Christy, it's been a great season. We love you very much and enjoy the game today. We'll be listening.
Thank you so much. It has been fun. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes, Cowboy sideline reporter Christy Scales here for the final time on the pregame show this year. Broaddus, what's your prediction, man?
I'm not going to predict this game today, Eric. I'm going to say thank you so much for everything you've done carrying me this year in this pregame show. I do think the Commanders are going to win. I do think, but I wanted to just take my minute and say thank you for everything you did. You're true.
Well, I love you. I appreciate it. There it is, the pregame show for the final time this year. Kickoff around the corner with Brad, Babe, and Christy. Make sure you stick around for the halftime and postgame shows with Bryan Broaddus and Zach Wolchuk. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Tom Thumb's new Drive Up and Go service makes grocery shopping easy and convenient for anyone.
25 pounds of ground chuck, 15 bags of hamburgers.